welcome to this episode of The Dig. I'm your host, Jamie, and today we're going to be talking about the position of middle. So if you're a middle or you just want to learn about middles, stay tuned because that's what we're going to be covering today. Before we get started, I want to tell you that our sponsor is my business, My Little Athlete, which I started about 4 years ago to basically make it so that I could coach full-time. So if you need any volleyball gifts or apparel, go to mylittleathlete.biz and check out what we have to offer. So, if you're a middle hitter or you want to learn about the role of the middle hitter, we have got a few questions that were sent in that I'm going to cover. The first thing, we'll just kind of talk about the role of the middle. First of all, your middle, a lot of people think they have to be tall, which is sort of true, but really it's more about them being a blocker than tall. So yes, the taller you are, the bigger advantages that you have to blocking. But if you have a 30-inch vertical, you can get away with being a little bit shorter. So a person who reaches or can touch 9 foot, it doesn't really matter if they are touching 9 feet because they're 6'6", or if they're touching 9 feet because they're 5'8". It doesn't really matter. What really matters is how high you jump and how far over and across the net you can get. The other thing about being a middle is you're not going to play defense. In the terms of digging, your defense is blocking. So, and you might play in the back row, but for now, we're specifically talking about the front row middle position. So, your role, you're not going to get a lot of tips or anything. You're just blocking. Other things, it's good to be fast as a middle. So if you're just tall and maybe you don't jump super high, but you have a good block because you're tall, you may end up playing more on the right side where going to side isn't as imperative, because in the middle you want to be pretty fast. You want to be able to get out to block on either side. As far as being a middle hitter, you have a little bit of an advantage. I'm short, like I'm 5'5", but I love hitting in the middle because I typically hit one-on-one. And if you're a middle and you don't have 2 blockers against you, and sometimes you will, sometimes the other team will put 2 blockers on you, but if you only have 1 blocker in front of you, then you have a little bit of an advantage hitting. Usually if you're getting set, it's because the passes were better. It's hard to set a middle, which is a disadvantage if you like to get set all the time. But if you play middle, then the only way the setter is going to be able to set you is if the passes are decent. Otherwise, they have to set somebody else. So you have that advantage that the quality of your sets are going to be a little bit better. But then your hitting percentage also needs to reflect that too. It needs to be a little bit better because if your sets are better, you should hit better. Other things about the middle, as a middle, you don't just want to train. Middles you're gonna do the same thing over and over and over again in the front row. Block, transition, hit. Block, transition, hit. Over and over and over and over again. And sometimes you're not hitting, but you're faking the hit, or occasionally you're covering. If you're not up in the air when the ball is set, then you're gonna need to turn and cover. But that's pretty much the role of the middle. So it's what you need to practice all the time. You need to get really good block, transition, hit, over and over and over again. One thing that kind of gets overlooked is that you need to be training your eyes. So, all these things that we talk about in specific episodes apply to every other position. But middles especially need to train their eyes so that they're ball setter, ball hitter. I don't know if you've heard that or not, but it's a pretty common phrase in coaching volleyball where you look at the ball, then you look at the setter, like the actual person setting the ball. Then you look at the ball again because you need to see where it's headed to. But then you look at the hitter. So ball, setter, ball, hitter. And then you need to actually look at the people because the people are what's going to give you cues to what's going to happen. And if you're looking at the ball, well, the ball's not going to tell you very much. The ball will it'll tell you where it's going, but it's not going to tell you, what the next person's going to do with it. So if you are watching the setter, you're going to get a really good cue as to where the ball's going to go. Most setters are going to give it away a little bit. So you can jump on the block and you can get out to block quicker. And then if you look at the hitter, you're going to be able to tell where they're going to hit the ball if you're looking at them. Like I said, if you're looking at the ball, you're not going to be able to tell where the hitter is going to hit. But if you look at the hitter, you're going to make a better determination on where you should be blocking. So ball setter, ball hitter, and really training your eyes. So you really can start to see what's going to happen before it happens. I had a really specific question that I think needs addressed. How do I get out of the way of the setter? And that happens to middles all the time. I mean, all the time, where the ball comes over and you're basically trying to run out of the way of the setter. The setter is going to basically run you over while you're transitioning. And how do you avoid that happening? To some extent, it's just kind of hard, because if the ball is going to land on you, you have to run out of the way because the setter's coming in. But a couple things you should consider. When you block, as the ball crosses the net, you should have a really good idea of where it's headed on your court. Even though you're not looking behind you to see where the ball is going, you're looking forward. The ball, where it comes over the net, is going to tell you which direction it's headed. So as you land, take care of your block. I want to stress, you really have to take care of your block. But then as you land, turn your head. It will turn way faster than your body. Turn your head and find the digger and the ball. And if you can find the digger before the ball gets to them, that's great, because then you can get cues from the digger on where the ball's going to go. But turn your head fast as you transition and see if you can figure out where the ball is going to go before the digger passes, or as the digger passes the ball back to the setter. And then if you can figure out where it's going to go, then you're going to be able to stay out of the path of the ball and the setter. If it's, coming right up to the middle of the court, then you need to transition off to the right or something a little bit more, and you can transition out of the way a little bit better. If you get in this predicament a lot, then it's probably because you don't recognize where the ball is going early enough. You're probably not turning your head fast enough and recognizing where the ball is on your court quick enough. There are other reasons too, of course, but that's probably a good indication of what's going on. Other things for middles. Super important that you stay behind the ball as a middle hitter. A lot of middles are not able, a lot of times you're not able to, in the middle, make a full transition. Sometimes you don't even get back to the 10-foot line. And then as you've learned, being, a young player, learning your approach, most of the time we're starting around the 10-foot line. And so as you get older, you have to start to realize that the ball's traveling much faster. And even if you're putting all of your effort into a big, fast transition, you may not have enough time to get all the way to the 10-foot line. And even if you do get to the 10-foot line, you need to take a small first step. So you're not taking the same approach as the outside hitter, where it's huge and it's off the court and you might be 15 feet away from the net. As a middle, you might have to condense your approach and either take a short 3 steps or just take your 2 steps. And that's something that's kind of hard, and it's an experience thing that you'll learn. So that would be a big hitting tip for middles, is make sure that you learn how to not do a huge approach and still be an effective hitter. And then also staying behind the ball with that short little approach. That's the key to being a good hitter. And as a middle, you have to make a short approach. Other thing is, mix it up as a middle hitter. Try hitting some different things. Try holding a blocker with you. So if you're hitting more than just the high middle ball, then you might start hitting, the faster middle ball. And the idea behind that is that you're holding the blocker that's in front of you. So the middle on the other team, they have to respect you, they have to stay with you, they have to jump with you, which means that your wing hitters are going to have a little bit more of an advantage. So as a blocker, or as a middle hitter, that's something that you should think about. You're really trying to fool the middle blocker on the other side. I think that's about it. A couple of little blocking tips before we go here. As a blocker, you always want to start with the rhythm of they jump, you jump. So it's like bam, bam. And then, of course, that's going to change. Everyone always wants to know, when am I supposed to block? Well, if the set on the other side is good, it's a couple feet off the net, then it's they jump, you jump. But if the ball is way off the net, then it's got to be they jump, then you jump. It's got to be a longer wait. If the ball's really tight to the net, you don't wait for anybody. You just go up and stuff it. Other things are, it's not about necessarily how high you get over the net. It's very important that you get across the net. So after that attack has happened, or basically about the same time that the other team is hitting the ball, you want to put your hands on their side of the net. You want to penetrate the net. You want to get into their space. Because when you touch the ball on the block, you want it to drop on their side, not on yours. So it's really important that you're timing it so that when you jump, your hands go over the net and contact the ball while it's still on the opposing team's side. Last thing I'll mention about blocking, and man, we're going to have to wrap up here, is that when you are blocking on the outsides by the antenna, you want to make sure that your outside hand for sure is getting around the ball and you're pressing back into the middle of the court. Otherwise, you will be tooled and the ball will go flying out of bounds off of you. So make sure that you get all the way around and you're pressing into the middle of the court. So I think that's about it for my questions on middles. If there's something that I forgot though, go ahead and send me an email or connect with me, DM me on Instagram at volleyball_challenge. I'm also probably going to do, I'll put on mylittleathlete.biz/middles this episode. And if there's any other tips or anything that I add specifically for middles, that's where you'll be able to find it. So I hope to hear from you and let me know how you like this episode. And I will talk to you again later. Bye.